Welcome to the room, the environment.
Yeah.
Today we got a hot topic, fresh off the press, man.
Oof.
Our defining moments.
Fresh off our brain.
that moment that defines, when you stepped into your greatness, you stepped into your calling, or when you felt like, God placed a purpose on your life.
Yeah. Defining moments. It's interesting because I'm in this season where I'm defining words a lot.
Yeah. I need the definition for everything I come across. Right?
I think I get it from Myron Golden because he's been convicting me a ton.
You ever search the word that you thought you knew? Like you've been using it your whole life?
A lot lately.
And then you look up the definition like, man, wow, I can use that word a lot better than I've been using it.
Right? I've been more aware of how I use words. So defining words, defining moment, I think they connect, man.
Definitely.
They really do, especially when we share our stories too.
The life we live is shaped around the way we use words. How we're able to communicate what we've experienced, what we expect, and so forth.
Yeah, I know that a lot of communicators nowadays are getting paid pretty well for it, especially when people connect to the words they say.
Yeah, I think communicators have been getting paid like really well.
Yeah, true.
Think about athletes, right? We think athletes are overpaid. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars. But if you compare that to 20 years ago, that same athlete would have been making about the same equivalent to what the market was demanding at that time, right? So speakers who are getting paid 10 million, I mean, not 10 million, but 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 to speak. I think back then it's probably equivalent to what they're getting paid now.
Yeah.
But what the market was demanding.
True. Yeah, based on the economy.
Yeah, based on the economy.
How everything works.
Yeah, inflation and so forth. So that number just look inflated because of today's time.
It's interesting.
But it's probably good money back then as well.
There are ties in the scripture with this, how God created the world with that word, right? Let there be light, or those words, if you will. He spoke the world into existence. Yeah. And I think there's something in that when, the power of the tongue. Yeah. People hear those concepts all the time where your words speak your reality, essentially. It can impact your reality. It can impact what you manifest. That's another word that a lot of, influencers are using this. They manifest your success or manifest your dream success, yada yada. So
I don't take that stuff lightly, man.
I don't either because it's based on scripture.
It really is.
And what we believe in.
You have not because you ask not.
And it's not just based on scripture. I've experienced it.
Me too, personally. I tell people the life that I live is everything that I've prayed for.
Ooh.
And have been praying for, right?
That's real, man.
So I have to remind myself that the things I'm complaining about was something I prayed 4 years ago. That's the more money, more problems mindset, right? You pray for this money, now you got problems. Stop complaining.
We just talked about that because you talked about your friend that was concerned about becoming a billionaire.
Not concerned about, but he wasn't intrigued with the idea of being a billionaire. He said it was too much.
I'm concerned about that. I'm like, wait, what? Which his perceptions are being that wealthy comes with a lot of problems that he doesn't want to have to deal with.
Or it comes with what he's picked up from society saying that those who have money get it the wrong way, right? As if you can't become financially wealthy because we say the word rich, right?
Financial peace. Being at peace, yeah.
We say rich and, like food is rich, right? It's rich in taste. It's rich in the way it make you feel. Experiences can be rich, right?
Yeah.
So with him, it was financial wealth. It was
financial
dollars and cents. Yeah.
Interesting. Going back to the defining moments, right? Or our defining moment. I think it has a lot to do with our identity. Identity shifts that we have. I wanted to read this portion here. I follow this guy named Bishop Wayne Malcolm. He's incredible.
The bishop,
business bishop. He talks about the I power. The power you bring to the marketplace is here called I power. And part of the I power, there's 4 different levels of it, is identity shift, ideas, intent, intelligences, initiatives. Okay, so identity shift, ideas, intelligences, initiatives. I'm like, when he downloaded this, I was like, wow, a lot of the shifts in life, right? The defining moments that really changed the trajectory of my life, your life, Had to come with an identity shift.
And it's moments, right? It's not
Moments.
a moment.
And it was an idea that was presented to you in that moment that you were bought into or you said no to.
Mm.
And then intelligences. You had to level up in your intelligences. That's emotional. That's, it says here,
8.
knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So you've got information, explanation, application. Intelligences, right? How you comprehend the information and then what you do after you've comprehended it.
Yeah.
And then initiatives. What are the action steps? Or what are the things that you actually implemented when you went through this defining moment?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people go through these seasons and react to the situation, which a lot of us do. Most aren't planning to go through some of these identity shifts because you could get fired from your job.
Yeah.
You could get let go. An accident happened. Family member has passed. Like so many different defining moments that help you just kind of process a little bit, slow time a little bit down. You know what I mean? Because, when you're busy, time goes so fast.
Do you remember your first defining moment?
And I mentioned it earlier, was when my granddad, who wasn't my granddad, passed away. I call him granddad because he cared for me that way. When he passed away, it was a defining moment because I've never seen someone pass away before like that. And in a way that was shocking. It was like, I was in high school. So I was just going to high school at the time. So I have to explain this. We start high school in grade 7.
Wow.
There's no middle school. It's just, you're in high school.
Elementary to high school.
Yeah, there's no junior high. You're in high school now. I've noticed there's a difference here in the States, or there's a difference in Sydney and different places in Australia. But I'm saying that to say.
We got to talk about that a little more. Like, what is that experience like being 7th grade? You're what, 12?
Yeah.
And you're in school with 17, 18-year-olds?
Yeah, so you're in grade 6. As soon as you're grade 7, you're in high school. You're with the 12th graders. You're with everybody.
Is there any bullying or being picked on?
It was kind of intimidating when you're a 7th grader and you saw a 12th grader. You're like, that's an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Okay.
So, but it's intimidating, but also it like weans you into, because I was used to it. I was used to seeing 12th graders and 11th graders once I was in grade 8. So yeah, I know it's 6, 7, 8, right? 6, 7, 8?
Middle school.
Middle school.
6, 7, 8.
So there's no middle school there. You're in high school.
It's interesting.
It is interesting because when I was in high school for the first time, this happens. My granddad passed away. I was at school when it happened. I didn't know it happened until my grandmother picked me up from school.
Okay.
It was kind of like in the afternoon, and she wouldn't tell me what was going on. She told me that he was in the hospital, but didn't tell me anything to that extent or anything further. So we get to the hospital, and then the doctors put us in this room, and then tells us the news. And I haven't broken down like that. Like I've never cried like that. It was grade 7, and it just hit me, and it was the first time I felt like that type of emotion as a young boy. And then I saw him, and it made it worse. And then I saw him again before, during the funeral.
Yeah.
Where they have the open casket and all that. And it happened again. So I was like, okay, that's what an emotional buy-in is.
Okay.
We're learning it from that age.
Defining how did it change the trajectory of your life at that moment? Like, what is the impact that it's had?
It was the family nucleus that I had at the time. So it was my granddad, my grandmother, and me, right? Granddad's not there anymore. It's just me and my grandma.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so did you feel like you became the man of the house? The protector, defender?
Not
feel more responsible?
Yes and no, because to be honest with you, I didn't know what to do. Like I was more childish than anything else.
Would you say it was a moment of fear?
It was a moment of confusion.
Okay.
I'd say. Yeah, I look back at that. It was defining because I was acting out after all this stuff, all the emotional stuff that's happened, and yeah, it was definitely defining. I remember that.
Your behavior changed? My
behavior changed, and my grandmother was talking to my parents. It was like, hey, guys, I think it's time for Joe to come to stay with y'all. Because I don't think I can raise this child. I don't think I can raise Joe up. He's getting too old, and he's a little harder to teach, to raise, because you've got to We got a 7th grader now.
Yeah.
And she's a grandmother. Obviously, you know, I will take advantage of that.
Single grandmother.
Single grandmother.
You know, at the age of 12, probably going on 13, you're coming into your, you know, trying to find yourself. I think most individuals around 12, 13, 14 become rebellious.
That's true.
So do you think that even if granddad was around, you would experience the same characteristics?
That's true. I never even thought of it that way. Yeah, and I'm studying that right now.
Yeah.
Just seeing all the transitions.
Behavior patterns around a certain age demographic.
Which is the part that I'm studying now with a child's development. So the first 4 years of a child's life is training. From 4 to 8 is teaching. You got to give them the why behind the what. And then it's 8 to 12 is transition. You're transitioning the child into an adult.
So you were experiencing a transition at the same time you experienced this loss.
Without being equipped to do it. And I see that nowadays. I'm like, oh man, we need to find a solution to this. And I think I found it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you're an awesome teacher, school starter.
That's crazy.
Curriculum
I
builder.
didn't even think about that. Yeah.
World changer.
I think I'm able to do that because, and I believe that God has empowered me, equipped me to do that because it is a problem that he wants solved.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, Janal said it for the first time, or the first time I even heard it said. And, you know, maybe she got it from somewhere else, so I don't know. But she's like, man, I just know that the purpose that is inside of us is God-given. Like, there was a problem that needed to be solved, so he created me. Boom. There was a problem that needed to be solved, so he created you. And I never looked at my purpose or identity like that.
Wow.
As a problem solver. And when she said it, like, it just shines light on the possibilities and the potential that's within us.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm here to solve a problem. Really? I thought I was somebody's problem. That's why dad walked out. You know what I mean? That's why mom distanced herself. It's wild. It's a crazy perspective.
It's twisted.
It's twisted.
It's backwards,
upside down. Yeah.
Dang. See, I thought that way. I think that's why I acted out. Thinking about all the rebellious moments in my life, I thought I was the problem. I could have contributed to that, but I didn't realize the problem was in my head, man.
All along.
All this time. It's how I was perceiving everything. Still kind of dealing with that today.
Yeah.
When sometimes I'll communicate with my wife and I'll say it. I'm like, babe, is this how I'm interpreting it? But is this how you're communicating it? She's like,
not at all.
I'm like, oh man, I missed it. Like, I completely missed that. So I'm like, I'm trying to learn how to refine that identity shift.
And it takes time.
It does.
You know, the person you are, you know, what, mid-30s?
Yeah.
And the way you are.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't get that way overnight. So undoing bad habits, bad patterns, bad identity, it's going to take time, right? I think the best thing we can do is get to work, right? At some point, we got to get to work, doing the work.
You got to put the words at work too.
The words at work.
Because there's a lot of things that we dream and aspire to become.
Faith without works.
We got to work that word.
We got to move.
If we want something and we say it, write that thing down and start working towards it.
Yeah.
I love that.
All work works.
You said this earlier. Our defining moments has a connection to becoming a product of our environment. Because I thought about when I was staying with my grandparents, bro, I was drinking Coke every day, man.
No, seriously.
Seriously.
No.
I look back, I'm like, wait. I was drinking Coke every day. Coca-Cola.
The brand Coke. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say.
No, because certain people call any like cola product Coke. Like Pepsi is a cola drink, right?
Oh, you call that Coke?
They call it Coke. People call it Coke. Like
I guess Coca-Cola.
Dr. Pepper, they call it Coke.
Wait, is Coca-Cola C-O-K-E here?
It is. C-O-L-A. C-O-K-E, C-O-K-A.
Okay, yeah, good. I was just making sure because in Australia there's Coke, but Coca-Cola and then there's Coke. I'm like, that's weird how they came up with that name, right?
Yeah. There's a brand called Coke in Australia?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't call it cola.
You don't call it cola, you just call it Coke.
I'm sure there's Coca-Cola in there somewhere, but Coke is the actual thing.
Name of the
I'm going to grab a Coke.
Okay.
So you probably thought I was talking about drugs, but
no. I knew you were talking about soda.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't know if you're talking about Coca-Cola specifically.
Yeah, so Coke, the Coca-Cola.
Yeah, the brand.
It was I remember it was in the fridge, and I was addicted to that thing, man. I was like Silas's age, 4. Younger, right after the bottle of milk.
I know.
Coke is in the fridge.
I know. Yeah, I seen something disturbing like that once. I was in my service van, and it sits up higher than the average car, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I looks over, and there was this lady feeding her infant baby Coke, just poured it into his mouth.
No.
I mean, the kid was in diapers.
Oh,
probably not even old enough to walk, man. That's a whole nother,
Yeah, I cringe
that's a whole
now.
nother recording.
I cringe now when if there's like sometimes we'll just, what do you call it, like a beverage, right? Of Coke Zero, and I know that's worse. And then I'll see my son or my daughter will have a sip, and I cringe when I watch them drink, and I'm like, oh, I used to drink that, and that's probably worse. But it's like the product of our environment.
That's a defining moment in itself, like having that realization
that's real.
That the things that we're consuming will have lasting effects for the rest of our lives, for our children as a parent.
With that said, when I moved to my family's, so when I moved in with my mom and dad, when this whole episode happened, I wanted to go back.
Hold on. So grandma was like, you got to go.
I got to go. So
see the environment.
So yes. So it wasn't like you're going to have a tour before you come. It's like, no, you're gone. Like it's just happening.
It's a done deal.
And they did. I felt like the transition went well. My dad is going to probably watch this and he's going to laugh about this. I felt like the transition went well. They came as a family. My brother and sister was born at the time. And it's actually 2 sisters. I had a brother and 2 sisters that came at the time. Came and picked me up, and we all flew to this place called Rockhampton. And it was different. It was different. So Seinfeld, we talked about this.
You literally went from being an only child with grandma and granddad.
Only child, did whatever I want, Coke every day. Watch Seinfeld, because I told you about that. Watch Seinfeld. I had a routine, like TV's on. Simpsons, Seinfeld, and then Neighbors or something. It was like another show. Every single day, Monday to Friday, nonstop. And then movie day, like I was TV all week. And then I moved to
rugby. Were you playing rugby?
Well,
not at that time.
Up and down. I was still young, didn't really understand it. So I moved with my family. No TV, no Coke. Had to share my food. It was like new environment, and it was a culture shock.
Wow.
I wanted to go back. I told him, I'm like, I want to go back. And my dad was like, you ain't going back, buddy.
Really?
You ain't going back. He's like, no, that's not happening. And I don't know if I cried. I can't remember if I cried or not. Because I had an emotional moment. I was like, this sucks. Like, I want to go back.
So we're still talking 7th grade. Yeah. Okay.
7th, 8th grade, yeah.
So 12 years old.
I went through so many changes, man. It was
Did you
crazy,
stay there?
Man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And see, this is high school.
This is the thing. I'm glad. Because that childish part of me would have destroyed me.
You were somewhat entitled with grandma, huh?
100%.
Yeah.
Spoilt.
Yeah.
I used to get whatever I want through her. That's why I had to move.
Okay.
Just because you want something doesn't mean you need it.
Exactly.
That's what we teach our son right now. I'm like, dang, I'm eating my own medicine.
Yeah. And even as a kid, the things you want probably ain't even good for you. Let alone need it. It's probably bad for you because you're a child. You don't know what's good for you.
I was 100% addicted, man. Coke and TV. And when they took the TV away, man, I was like, what the heck am I going to do with my time now? Read books, what?
Oh, man. That's amazing.
It's crazy, man.
So my story is, as I'm listening to you tell this story of what you went from to what you went to, I'm like, man, like mine is flip. Right?
Interesting.
So with grandma, you grew up with stability. You grew up with a sense of comfort and expectation, right? With me, there was no stability, no comfort, and no expectation. Like it was a different household. Probably every 90 days, it was a different household.
Sheesh,
like it was back and forth, man. But we would end up at my grandma's house. Like my grandma it was home base when you didn't have anywhere else to go.
Big mama's house?
Yeah, it was Big Mama's house. Yeah. When the rent couldn't get paid over here, we ended up at grandma's house.
Wow.
Right, just in and out, different apartments, different places, different schools, different environments, different people, almost every year. I actually went to a different elementary school every year up until the 7th grade. Sometimes 2 or 3 schools in the same year, right? It wasn't until, and it's funny, like this is where our stories parallel. In 7th grade is when I went to go live with my sister.
That's crazy. That's about the same time.
In the 7th grade, except we had middle schools, right? So I transitioned to a middle school versus high school. And that was the first time I had stability. I literally, my story became your story prior to going to live with your parents, because I went from always being around a house full of people, different environments, very unstable, to being at my sister's house, and it was just me and her. I went to being the only child in the house with her, a fridge to call my own, a room to call my own, my own television, right? Versus having to share a television or being in places where we didn't have a TV.
Were you excited, like just with all this available to you now?
Excitement? I don't know if I was excited when I think back. I think when you come out of a tragic situation or something that's very unstable, you don't know what to expect, right? You know, because it's like you're probably on 10. If I can think about how my emotions were, you know, they were probably on 10, like with no great expectations. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But when I look back, I realized that was a defining moment for my life, because it gave me, we talk about the importance of foundation, right? You're only going to grow as tall and stand as firm as the foundation that you're planted on. And that was the moment that I received foundation. I knew exactly where I was going to go to sleep. I knew exactly where I was going to wake up. I knew that there was food in the refrigerator. I knew that, you know, when I went in that home and I closed the door, I was safe. And I had never had that in my life, right? So for me, that was a defining moment. And I don't think if I went to live with my sister, I would have even graduated high school. Like every year was, even in 6th grade, this is the year that I drop out. This is the year. 7th grade, it was like, I made it, but I don't think I'm gonna make it to the 8th grade. Every year of my school, all the way through high school, was the year that I drop out, because everyone around me was doing it. Like, so there was no great expectation. It was like, okay, she dropped out, so I'm probably next.
Product of your environment.
Yeah, he dropped out. Okay, so I'm probably next. And then it became a game. So around the 10th grade, it became a game. I said, everybody's dropped out. I'm the last man standing. What would it look like if I finished? How different would my life be? It was crazy.
That's a defining moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the first defining moment that I could think is moving into my sister's, man. Game changer.
It's interesting how you're sharing that, Brian. And now I'm thinking about my experience. Your defining moments isn't interpreted or comprehended in the moment.
No.
Dare I even say,
I think
2, 3, 5 years after.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a cycle of weaving experiences together. And you look back and you see the big picture.
And I guess when we become adults later in life, we're able to perceive point of reference, essentially. Like, I'm here. How did I get here in this point in time after going through all these different journey pitfalls and places that we went through? But then you start to see the dots connecting. Like, wait, that was a defining moment for me to move out of my comfort zone. You said something really, really good there. And this is something we're saying at our school. Is one of our culture statements is we create a safe environment. If it's not a safe environment, that child, you're expecting that child to act out.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel safe. And that's the first thing they want to feel.
You know,
it's the first thing a puppy wants to feel.
It's that fight or flight emotion, that experience when you're not safe. You know, if you're not safe, you're going to respond to it, right? You're going to fight. You're going to defend yourself.
That's why I think what I'm leveraging from my story and your story is when I create a work environment as I'm leading our team is to make sure they feel safe. Yeah. That's the first thing. I want them to know that they're loved, they're valued and believed in. And then if I need to correct them, I'm going to say it in a way that they still feel safe. It's like, hey, you can trust me. Yeah. I just want the best for you.
You're going to get the best performance from your people if you can create a space where they're safe. And from that space, they can create.
That's that right there. Create opportunities, contribute in ways that you probably never seen them contribute. Have you heard the book Radical Candor?
I don't believe so.
The book, man, I think the 2 statements that they say on there is you got to challenge people directly, but love them sincerely. Challenge them directly, but also love them authentically or sincerely. You still have to challenge them.
Yeah.
But do it in a way that they're so loved and seen and supported that they know that you have the best intentions in mind for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
what does the scripture say? I'd rather have, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'd rather have the strikes of, or the slaps of a friend than the kisses of an enemy. Something like that.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're referring to. Yeah.
But pretty much, yeah. We discipline our children because we love them. It's not out of hate. It's not out of vengeance. It's out of love. And who likes to be disciplined? Nobody. Right? But if you love someone, you'll correct them.
It's kind of like what you were saying earlier about the thing being twisted, where I'll go back to it. You said something earlier that really was good, where it was supposed to be the other way around. What was it? Do you remember?
I don't.
I'll come back to it. But product of our environment, the defining moments of that. And I've got another point here I think we need to touch on. The ripple effects of words. I'm saying that to say, and like we've always been saying on the podcast, is things have been downloaded in us.
Yeah.
What are those things? Now, there are experiences, we see things, education, there's, what else is there? Environments that we're in as well. But when you hear words said against you, that's like a seed being sown so deep in your heart, man, that replays in your mind. It's like, wait, where did that thought come from? It's like, oh, wait, back when I was in the military, someone said this to me. When I was in high school, it's interesting how the ripple effect of words has, and whether it's negative or positive, I think positive affirmation is powerful.
Yeah.
But I also know how effective and detrimental negative words are too.
Do you believe it matters who it's coming from? Do you think it's more powerful if it's coming from a trusted advisor or
this
family
is the
member
thing. This is the
versus
thing.
a stranger?
I think, and you've heard this analogy before, it's not about building bigger walls. It's about building bigger you. Because what happens is, and what I mean by that is, you can't put people in a confined space.
The protection comes from inside,
right, versus exterior walls, or trying to avoid people being in these settings of hardship.
Okay, let's say you're a child, and you don't understand this ideal of building self-reliance and internal strength. Right. So you're just vulnerable as a child.
Right. So that's the thing. I think there's this transitional phase for children where you have to build them up for the first 4 years. You got to train them. You got to teach them in the 4 to 8 period as well.
That's what a proper adult does.
You are super intentional. And if you have a trusted a trusted school that are partnering with you, come on somebody, who are partnering with you to not only, put all the work on the parent, they're actually partnering with you to be the parent while you're not there.
Yeah.
And where all the vision, all the, I guess, the value systems are in alignment. When you find that, you hold on to that one. You hold on to that school and make sure that child is in there, in the leadership incubator, if you will. So once they go from 8 to 12, though, so I got this formula.
You got it.
8 to 12 is transitional.
Okay.
This is where you transition the child into adulthood.
This is where you're giving them responsibility.
This is where you
or asking them to exercise what you've taught them.
Exercise what you've taught them because they're going through the transition.
Okay.
This is why I think our bodies are changing in that period.
Big time.
So when they transition, then you got 12 to 16. That's the trust phase. This is where you delegate more to them. This is where I think you have to have them either going to environments where they serve, whether it's a church, local church, or charitable environments. They need to see struggle.
Yeah.
They need to see things where they can be grateful for what they have. Give them a reason to be grateful. If they're not grateful about anything, they're entitled. Nothing's valued. And I really want to touch on that. That's something I really want to talk about on this episode. What's not valued is not valuable. And you know what? What's crazy about this? I was doing a little bit of a deep dive on anger management.
Okay.
Especially for men. And, with our tempers, man, and I know it's there for a reason. We need to have a trigger for us to be in our lion state. Because I really believe we have a lion state and a lamb state, right? Our lion state is like, oh, there's some wolves around. I need to protect my family, protect and serve. It's innate in our human nature as a man.
And would you say the lamb is to what? Serve and love?
Lamb is to speak in a way that is loving and caring and kind of like I was saying, like love sincerely, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can challenge directly when it comes to the lion state. The lion state is like, I need to protect this environment. I need to protect this culture.
Okay.
Action needs to be happen. And I have to use my firm voice in this moment because people aren't taking me seriously right now, especially the threat.
Okay.
So this is something I've been learning in the military in the last 12 years. And with that, a temperament, that anger state, right? When you're angry about something, the reason why that energy is there is because you value the thing that you're protecting.
Okay.
That energy source, that trigger is, I'll give you an example. If someone disrespects my wife, someone lays a hand on her, I'm going to get angry because I value
laying
her.
a hand and disrespect are like two different levels of response.
Right. Oh yeah. That escalation is.
We can exchange some words and go our separate ways, but laying
True.
your hands on her, you're gonna get some hands laid on.
And I'm saying like if it's an exchange of words, there'll be an exchange of words. But if there's a physical treatment in this process, you're about to get some lion. There's a line coming. So, but I'm passing on the message to say this person's valuable to me.
It's gonna get a response.
All that
and
energy,
it won't be the lamb.
Yeah. All that energy, all that attention is coming from that place. So these defining moments, this is where I tie it in. When you start to value the moments that you go through, you realize how that adds to you in the future or adds to you in this present moment. So for example, for being grateful, right?
Yeah.
Gratitude changes your attitude because you're grateful and it shifts your attitude. When you realize, wow, like I'm actually thankful for this, for the food on the table, the roof over my head, like my kids, my family.
Yeah.
You're reinstalling the value in the mindset of what
everything you have.
Of the things that you have. So it shifts, identity shift. It shifts your mindset. It shifts how you look at things, perspective, your perceptions.
you know, not to cut you off, but I think that's why I enjoy talking to you about wealth, generational wealth, and prosperity, because you're not someone whose mindset is all about more and more and more. Like you're very in tune with the now and what you have, and your sense of gratefulness and understanding that where you are and what you're doing and what you're experiencing in itself is a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the fear of most people when they talk about wealth, is because they are void of acknowledging the now and being grateful for what they have.
Yeah.
And they just think greed, right? But you're very in tune with being knowledgeable of the blessings that you are currently experiencing.
Do you know why people are greedy?
What you got?
It's because they don't have a purpose. They think they do. People hoard because they feel like they're going to lose something. Wow. And when you hoard, the problem is and our leader has spoke on this, the thing that we're supposed to be ruling over is actually ruling over us.
Yeah.
So that whole scarcity and abundance mindset comes into play in this. Scarcity mindset comes from a place of like, this is all I got.
Scarcity comes from fear. Yeah.
Abundance mindset is like, no, there's unlimited resources everywhere around me. I see the opportunities.
Yeah.
And the opportunities, and what the opportunities is how can I serve more?
Yeah. Yep.
If you're in your serve state, oh man, like you have endless of opportunities. As soon as people start thinking like they either hoard or they feel like they've given up on life, it's because their purpose engine or oil tank has.
I think two areas that we can improve our life, the two most effective areas that if we worked on these things, it will improve our lives drastically. One, customer service. Just literally being able to serve people in general.
Yeah.
And two, communication, right?
Right.
I would say skill set, but you can train for skill, right? It doesn't matter what the skill is, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, whatever the skill is, you can train for that.
You can.
But if you, put the work into learning community service or customer service, how to service people well and how to communicate that well, you'll build a team around you. You'll employ the people or find the people or hire the people who have the skill set that you don't have, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about the 4 values of, wealth, right? Implementation,
unification, communication, and imagination.
Yeah, right. But if you just work on the ability to serve people well and the ability to communicate that ideal well, it leads to wealth.
Wow. That's so good, because when you serve, it's interesting, during the process of serving, this, you'll find more problems that they need help with.
Yeah.
Because we all have problems. We all have pain.
Oh, man, you just hit on something. We spend too much time avoiding problems as opposed to looking for opportunity to solve problems.
Wow.
And that's where the wealth is.
You know what's interesting? I came from a broken family, and I'm helping bring families together now. Yeah. Isn't that crazy how full circle that comes? When you become super intentional about purpose, and then you see how your story ties into that purpose. And I know our story is ultimately connected to an ultimate story.
Yeah, and it's simply a product of you not avoiding the problem. Not running from problems.
Yeah, almost confronting it.
Exactly, confronting the problem.